Hello, this is Chris coming to you from the Edgar Allan Poe Museum's Reference Library in sunny, historic Richmond, Virginia. And this is The City in the Sea. Lo, death has reared himself a throne in a strange city lying alone, far down within the dim west, wherein the good and the bad and the worst and the best have gone to their eternal rest. Their shrines and palaces and towers, time-eaten towers that tremble not, resemble nothing that is ours. Around by lifting winds forgot, resignedly beneath the sea, the melancholy waters lie. No rays from the holy heaven come down on the long night time of that town, but light from out the lurid sea streams up the turrets silently, gleams up the pinnacles far and free, up domes, up spires, up kingly halls, up fanes, up Babylon-like walls, up shadowy long-forgotten bowers of sculptured ivy and stone flowers, up many a marvelous shrine whose wreath friezes intertwine, the vial, the violet, and the vine, resignedly beneath the sky, the melancholy waters lie. So blend the turrets and shadows there, that all seem pendulous in air, while from a proud tower in the town death looks gigantically down. Their open fanes and gaping graves yawn level with the luminous waves, but not the riches that there lie in each idol's diamond eye, not the gaily jeweled dead tempt the waters from their bed, for no ripples curl, alas, along the wilderness of glass. No swellings tell that winds may be upon some far-off happier sea. No heavings hint that winds have been on seas less hideously serene. But lo, a stir is in the air. The wave, there's a movement there, as if the towers had thrown aside in slightly sinking the dull tide, as if their tops had feebly given a void within the filmy heaven. The waves have now a redder glow, the hours are breathing faint and low, and would amid no earthly moans, down that town shall tremble hence, hell rising from 1,000 thrones shall do it reverence.
Hi, horror author Holly Knightley here. Shout out to Jeanie Carmen. Thank you so much for asking me to come back as a judge for the 4th annual Poe-It Like Poe-It contest. So excited to read all of the entries. To kickstart the event this year, I am going to read a short passage from Silence of Fable by Edgar Allan Poe. This is considered a prose poem, so if you haven't read it before, make sure you do, because it is absolutely brilliant, and it is personally one of my faves. Okay, so without further ado, Silence of Fable by Edgar Allan Poe. Then I grew angry and cursed with the curse of silence, the river and the lilies and the wind and the forest and the heaven and the thunder and the sighs of the water lilies, and they became accursed and were still. And the moon ceased to tire on its pathway to heaven, and the thunder died away, and the lightning did not flash, and the clouds hung motionless, and the waters sunk to their level and remained, and the trees ceased to rock, and the water lilies sighed no more. And the murmur was heard no longer from among them, nor any shadow sound throughout the vast limitless desert. And I looked upon the characters of the rock, and they were changed, and the characters were silence. Thank you so much. Entries start April 1st through May 15th. Make sure you check out the 6 Years of Edgar Allan Poe for official contest rules. Thank you so much, and good luck to everyone.
Now I would like to share with you one of Poe's greatest poems and one of his most unnerving short stories. Let's begin with the poem, which, as I say to my students at Tennessee State University and Nashville State Community College, I call this poem horribly romantic. Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. It was many and many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Leigh, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Leigh, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Leigh. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Leigh. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Leigh. And the stars never rise but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Leigh. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea.
Take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, thus much let me avow. You are not wrong who deem that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand, so few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep, while I weep, while I weep. Oh God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? Oh God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream?
The poem I've selected is El Dorado, or maybe El Dorado, which rhymes better with shadow. We'll get into that in a moment when you hear the actual poem. But it was one of Edgar Allan Poe's very last poems that he wrote. It was published in April of 1849 in Flags of Our Union. And this was the height of the California Gold Rush. And the poem deals with this theme of the fruitless search for treasure. I chose this particular poem because it was the inspiration for my short story, Poe's Last Lament, which imagines that Poe did not in fact die in Baltimore, as is popularly believed, but rather he ended up in the gold fields of California. I hope you enjoy this poem. It means a lot to me. I live here very close to those gold fields in a county called El Dorado, or maybe El Dorado.
Gaily bedight, a gallant knight in sunshine and in shadow had journeyed long, singing a song in search of El Dorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like El Dorado. And as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. Shadow, said he, where can it be, this land of El Dorado? Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow. Ride, boldly ride, the shadow replied, if you seek for El Dorado.
Hi there, everybody. I'm Trisha Leigh Shufelt. Welcome to my studio. I'm a poet and author, and I'm reading for you a story today inspired by Edgar Allan Poe from my poetry book, The Ghosts of Nevermore, poems and short stories inspired by Edgar Allan Poe. And this particular one is called Familiar. Let's see if you recognize any of the elements. I shall tell you a story wrapped in liquid sorrow and perpetual grief, a tale so black that it haunts my waking dreams. When I was a child of 10, a black cat crossed my path on the way home from school. Superstitions of black cats disguised as witches were commonplace, but I gave it little thought and adopted him as my own. I was a lonely child with a mild deformity of the right eye, causing it to drift off center. Because of this, I was the target of bullies and prone to insecurities. I found it challenging to make friends and thought a pet would bring me out of my melancholy. The cat became my constant companion and confidant. With him by my side, I thought I could do anything. I named him Pluto because it is the planet farthest from the sun, which is how much I loved him. We did everything together, and he followed me everywhere until my 18th birthday, when I met a young girl named Jezza. She was a beauty who captured my heart and reminded me of my beloved cat with her sea glass green eyes and thick black hair. Pluto did not share my fondness. Despite her attempts to woo the creature, he would hiss and growl in her presence, which she found rude. Jealous of my time with Jezza, he began to avoid me. When she would leave, he would hide under my bed for hours and even avoid his meals. "You're just punishing yourself, you insolent beast," I would say. My angry words only made him distance himself further from me. This behavior continued until the day I asked Jezza for her hand in marriage. In my nervous state, I imbibed beforehand. When I proposed, he surprised us with his presence and appeared loving toward her. We were both hopeful about the change of heart. However, when Jezza caressed him, the beast turned and attacked her, drawing blood. Well, you can imagine my shock and horror. In a rage, I grabbed him by the nape of the neck and threw him across the room. Pluto hit the far wall with a resounding thud. My sweetheart, whom I was sure would forgive my outburst, did not. Instead, her once delicate features now twisted into an admonishing look of betrayal, something I couldn't understand. When I reached for her, she recoiled and called me Jekyll and Hyde. Furthermore, she vowed never to see me again. I was guilt-ridden and heartbroken. Afterward, I sought my cat, who had fled from our sight after a moment of dazed confusion. I would find him hiding under my bed. As you can imagine, he was quite shaken, and even worse, had suffered a ruptured eye from the force of the blow. Still, despite my ill treatment, Pluto found it in his heart to forgive me. From that moment forward, I vowed to remain loyal to him. I even convinced myself he saw something in Jezza that I could not, an evil, perhaps. In his cat-like way, he was warning me that our courtship was doomed, and a more suitable partner needed his approval. Pluto was more than a pet. He was my other half, and I would treat his preferences with more respect. Still, I was a man of marrying age. My father, in particular, was eager for me to carry on the family name. Therefore, I wasted little time searching for a suitable mate. However, try as I may, I found the prospect difficult, and I began imbibing to boost my courage. This boost worked until I would bring the ladies to my home to meet Pluto. Their reaction to him determined the relationship's progression, which often ended that evening. I couldn't fault Pluto. For his part, he learned his lesson with Jezza and made every effort towards affection, even being overly affectionate on his first meeting. It was their blatant rejection of him that set my teeth on edge. Perhaps it was his eye that turned their fickle stomachs. Either way, I found my patience wearing thin, and as my resentment increased, so did my intake of alcohol. This was not my fault. I can assure you that I was a complete gentleman towards these women, whose demeanors became frigid and cruel when shown even the slightest love and affection from Pluto. My last attempt with a woman named Victoria is what has brought me to this woeful state you see before you now. I thought she was the one, a woman of exquisite beauty and refinement. Therefore, I became a paragon of sobriety, as she found the imbibing of liquor distasteful. However, when it came time for her to meet Pluto, I was nervous, fearing she would reject him like all the others. Because of this, I allowed a few shots of whiskey to allay my insecurities. At first, all seemed well. Victoria appeared unfazed by Pluto's appearance. She even welcomed him with open arms. However, as his affections increased, she rejected him, even slapping and pushing him off of her like he was a demon possessed. This enraged me. I don't know what came over me, but I struck her with a violent blow which caused her to fall and hit her head. Victoria lay lifeless in a pool of blood, and Pluto, my beloved cat, had disappeared. I would confess in the morning. In the meantime, I wanted to forget my guilt and the bloody deed. That night, I drank myself to excess and fell asleep on the couch, failing to extinguish a nearby candle. I awoke to the sound of Pluto's cries and the smell of smoke. I ran from the home just before it burned to the ground. In the aftermath, not even the evidence of Victoria's body remained. Perhaps Pluto had knocked over a candle. There was no way of knowing. The only thing I knew was that he had saved me. He had also vanished again. This time, I feared the worst. I had nowhere to go but back to my parents' home and hoped Pluto would find me. When news of the fire broke, an investigation followed. An eyewitness claimed she'd seen me with a woman who resembled Victoria. Another claimed she'd heard screaming coming from the house and then silence. I maintained my innocence. Besides, my reputation spoke for itself. I was an upstanding gentleman. Neither myself nor my family had ever suffered a stain on their name. In time, the whispers would disappear, or so I thought, until a woman offered damning information against me. The woman was my first love, Jezza. She claimed abuse by my hand and that my love of drink caused my Jekyll and Hyde persona. She attested that Pluto was a figment of my imagination, a device in which to seduce women. She claimed Pluto was my alter ego and a shadow side of myself that emerged upon rejection of physical advances. She mentioned the other women I'd seen who had disappeared. Despite my protests to the contrary, the police took her side and searched my property with cadaver dogs. It was an entirely unnecessary and vile affair. That was until the dogs began to dig. They unearthed the bodies of 4 decayed women and charged me with their murders. Only now, in my forced sobriety, can I say that Jez's words were not entirely false. Pluto was indeed a part of me, the side that loved me more than anyone had ever loved me, and he was as real as I am sitting before you today. He was my awakened self and my self-desolation. However, as loyal as he was, he could not save me from my demons or my spiral descent into hell. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Again, it's from The Ghosts of Nevermore, which contains short stories and poetry by yours truly. And I thank you again. Take care.
Hi, this is A. Rubin. I'm one of your judges for the annual Poe-It Like Poe competition. I'm also the winner of the first ever Poe-It Like Poe competition, and I'm about to read to you the poem that won that first ever contest. It's called Nightwalkers. It's heavily influenced by Edgar Allan Poe, obviously, not only in terms of content or subject matter, but also in terms of style and poetic device, especially in its use of meter and repetition. Here it goes. Nightwalkers by A. Rubin. Whistling through the graveyard, I came upon a man, a ghost of one killed long ago, buried in that strand. No, I am not dangerous, he whispered soft to me. I just saw you walking here, and sought some company, for I walk between these stones, alone eternally. And so I walked there by his side, below the pale moon, whose light framed us beneath the clouds of night's dark inky gloom. All through the night we wandered, in perfect harmony, as softly in my ear he spoke, recounting memories, a secret shared betwixt these stones between my friend and me. He spoke to me throughout that night, until the break of day, for with the coming of the light, all ghosts must go away. Returned he unto his grave, to rest now peacefully, and I was left to ponder what he had said to me, whispered lightly in my ear, meant only just for me. And since that night I've wandered, and oft when I'm alone, I think about that night I walked between those sacred stones. I hope that when I'm dead and gone, if restless shall I be, some kind soul will stop a while and do the same for me, walk with me and talk a while, and my companion be. So again, that was Nightwalkers. That's the poem I won the competition with, and I can't wait to see what you submit this year for us to read. So A. Rubin, and I'll be reading your work soon.
Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe, read by Renee Cronley. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee. With a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in this sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea.
Death in Color by Carmen Bouldin. hiding behind the walls for days, away from death, all in a maze. Through colors 7 all one way, if a door opens, will we pay? Death awaits with splotched hands for me. Death keeps time, carrying the key. Death cannot crack the wall of stone. Death craves to never walk alone. The room's filled with colors varied. No lingering, I won't tarry. From one to another I move. I will beat death, I will prove. 7 rooms filled with sins or time, yielding each one leaves me sublime. The castle waits for death so dark. One door ajar will set the mark. The blue room brings a renewal, giving life meaning, feeling full. The purple place of pride's decor, bring one's heartsick soul nevermore. Thirdly, the room envy with green, a youthful, hopeful longing sheen. The orange of maturity, the gluttony of youth freely. White drifts in 5th purely. Winter breathes short breaths truly. 6 settles with violent rage, the wrath of wisdom as a sage. Greedy death haunts the 7th room, watching, waiting beneath the gloom. Scarlet windows light up like blood as death's touch commences to flood.
Moongates fell. Who put tears in my eyes as I watched the sunset? Who put longing in my heart as I listened to the gentle breeze? Is this some waking dream or a broken heart for me? Someone would never do this for a person or being if they could see. Who told me of a happy day that would set my life soaring? Who made me believe the possible even when facing the improbable? Archway holds so many memories. Our vow of love was made within its space. Too many days and nights have passed. The happy feeling hasn't faded. Who made my dreams vivid and real each night as we laid our heads to rest? Who said it was love, laugh, and happiness that was our forever dream? Look at how bright you're shining in its glow. It is so stunning to behold your beauty. It always takes my breath away. We were meant to spend our eternity this way. Who was the one that caused my breath to stop at an exact moment in time? Who took my hand into theirs so they could lead me safely home? Who knew as we slowly walked through the moon's gate our love was bound for all time? No matter the good or the bad, it was written in our stars as we joined. All I ask is to see your face, or that one I cry for each night. I wish to see who brushed away my doubts and put in their place a smile. I ask again, who put my soul back where it truly belonged? Who never leaves my side as I let the trail of tears fall from my eyes? Please show me who, for I wish to see them quickly, for my existence is waning in a black and dreary place. I see the impact of this moment and feel its pulse echoing me. I hear the breath in the tide following in and ebbing out to sea. As I beg of you to show me who, it is all I will ever need. Just say thy name in the wind, and I will move again. But for some reason in this time and place, I can no longer see your face. I suddenly hear no sound, or feel your palm onto mine. The void is filling with my broken tears. Loneliness is gripping. So I beg from within my being to tell me who my Savior was to me. The voice whispers on the wind your name, and suddenly our connection becomes eternal. Now I will only taste my tears in my memory as our spell solidifies forever nocturnal.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this and nothing more." Distinctly, I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow for the lost Lenore. For the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. Open here I flung the shutter when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stop nor stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door. Perched upon the bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be short and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven,
"Nevermore."
Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven,
"Nevermore."
Be that word our sign in parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest of the night's Plutonian shore. Believe no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door, take thy beat from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven,
"Nevermore."
And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. And the lamplight orm streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted.
"Nevermore."
Thank you, everyone, for attending our third annual Poet Like Poe reading event. And we just want to thank all of our great friends from the Poe community who sent in their videos with their poems that they read. And we just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, we enjoy it because our Poe community is what keeps us going. And for our fourth annual poetry contest that we kicked off on April the 1st, submissions are now available. You can, go to our website. There is a posting on Facebook where you can do a QR code, and submissions will be available until May 15th. We have great judges once more again this year. We're excited to have them read your work. So get those poems into us. We have 18 and up. We do 11 to 17-year-olds, but there's only one submission per person.
Yes.
And remember that AI is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form.
That's
if you
right.
use AI, it's an automatic disqualification. Sorry, just the way we roll. But we want to thank you for participating, for all our peoples that contributed, for our another great third annual, as Carmen said, reading event to kick off our poetry. We've got some originals. We've got some people that wrote, read some Poe favorites. So we just hope you enjoy it and get you in the poetry mood.
That's right. And Poe even wanted to join us.
Look at that's creepy.
Yes, it is.
It's like the floating head.
He is.
And he goes in and out.
He's a
and we're in a
floating
graveyard.
head. Yes,
Yeah, okay.
That's the whole point.
Yeah. And then his, the skull is the head, of what he would look like today.
Exactly. Well, I guess, Jeanie,
on that note,
we
are
Poe out.